Well, hello. Welcome to Biztainment Weekly. I am your host, Scott, Janney, or you can call me Janney. I don't really care, either one. But you are here, and we are happy to have you listening or watching, which is pretty cool. But I am super excited. This is our rebrand, relaunch of Biztainment Weekly, and I couldn't think of a better guest than my good buddy Jared Beasley over at Astoria. So welcome to the show, Jared. Are you excited?
Yeah, man.
Be honest.
Happy to be here. I'm stoked. Let's go.
All right. There it is. Because you know why this is so exciting? Because our new intro song, that was you.
Yeah.
You created that years ago, knowing that I was going to want that to be our intro music into Biztainment Weekly.
Yeah. I could hear you whispering into my ear
I was.
as we were creating it.
I was actually thinking about my wife and I was thinking like, I need to like use that really as like a segue into, hey, let's go out on a date. Like go on a date night or something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, if people want to listen to that mid-best YouTube, I think it's called Date Night.
It is.
I think I named it something else, and you're like, I don't even know what song that is. But all right, well, look, we have plenty of time to discuss that. But before we do that, I am going to dive into what we like to call our LinkedIn moment. And this is something that we always brought in. It's always something positive that someone posted on LinkedIn, and it really gives us an opportunity to talk and share, about good things going on in the world. But what I like to tell everybody is if you don't want me sharing your post, especially on my podcast, then don't be my friend. Make sure you remove our connection. But just seeing if we can, let's see if we can pull this up here. We have our first positive post here. So it says from Hamilton Perkins. It says off to a good start at, what is that? That's Latch Week. Latche?
Might be LA Tech Week.
I think that's it. LA Tech Week. Thanks, Jared. Appreciate that. LA Tech Week from the founders, investors, and corporate mixer by JP Morgan Chase and Company, along with Plug and Play Tech Center. You can definitely check out this post, but I love to always mention about founders and growth, and that's really a lot about what our show is going to continue to build content around. But it says, met a lot of founders and investors with many perspectives. My first takeaway is that tangible product with a story is still valued highly in today's market. That said, we have catered our offer to large organizations, but can work with small businesses too. So if you're around this week, PM me. Now, I think that was 2 days ago. So if you're still around, shoot him a message. But this is going to be posted next week, so that may be too long. However, still reach out to Hamilton Perkins. Anyways, that's our first one. And now we're going to move to our second positive post. And this one I can't be more excited about because this guy, Matt Higgins, okay, now there's a funny story here. Matt Higgins, I met him or I saw him on Shark Tank. And then him and I, we were joking back and forth on LinkedIn, having a good conversation. And my company, Magazine Jukebox, which is our sponsor, had was just getting started. But anyways, his post says, when you're pitching anything, don't bother trying to prove that you don't need the money. You're only selling because of some fluke, or it's better in someone else's hands. Buyers know sellers need to sell, and you're full of it. You're not conveying reluctance. You're projecting weakness and deceit. Stick to the value. And why is that a positive post? Sounds kind of negative, but it's a positive post because so many of my colleagues and so many of my friends are raising capital. And I think this is really important for them to understand and know that you really have to stick to the value. So thanks, Matt. Looking forward to having you on the show here at some point. But that concludes LinkedIn Moment. That was a good one. We need to get like a round of applause, like something on the thing, like, yay, that's done. We'll add it. That's how this rolls. Okay. Anyways, let's get to what's most important here, which is not me. Although popular belief thinks it's me, but it's not. It's really not. People are here for you, Jared. So
Well,
let's talk about you.
That's very sweet of you to say. I'm happy to be here.
So recently, Jared got to come out to my 40th birthday, and that was fun. And I told him, I said, hey, look, there's going to be some axe throwing. And he got to come out and throw some axe. axes, and it was really this impressive trailer that they had that you could do this in. But what concerned me though is when he would say, "Hey Scott," and then he threw the axe. It was with such vigor
Mm.
and with such strength, made me a little concerned.
Well, yeah.
What
Well,
what you were imagining down on the end of that?
I'm just thankful that there weren't any accidents. Sorry.
I wish I could have queued you up for that, but you're always like on point, and that's what I appreciate about you. Always on point. And so a lot of people don't know Jared, founder of Astoria, and what's really neat about them is that they actually wrote Magazine Jukebox first commercial, which just recently aired on Coast Live
Yeah,
at
did you see that?
WTKR Channel 3.
It was
Did you
on
see
local
that? Yeah,
TV.
it was
That's
on
cool.
local TV. That's right. And so that was a lot of fun, and it was nice to be able to see that commercial. And I think we're starting to collaborate on a new project, so I'm excited for that to get launched here soon enough. See, now it's on the air, so now I've got to commit to it, right? Like
Yeah,
I
I guess so.
I can't back
Yeah.
out of this. So, but Jared, why don't you tell us a little bit about Astoria? I mean, I understand it. We've used you guys, but tell us a little bit about the fundamentals of Astoria. Why did Astoria come about? And if you can share with us a little bit about Jared.
Yeah. So Storia is a digital marketing agency that builds brands by telling stories. So we focus on the reason why companies exist, like what is their unique value proposition, and help them try to communicate that in a very real and transparent way to resonate with their potential clients, customers, what have you. So we do that through websites, videos, and photos, like original media. That's like the most simple and like boring way to tell it. But you have this incredible opportunity in our current technology state to reach people from all over the world. And with great power comes great responsibility, right? So we're trying to tell things that are honest and real and true to our customers, like our clients, to help them be real to their clients as well. And so we just focus on this idea of storytelling because it resonates with people and it's honest.
Yeah, I love that, and I love what you're saying. But I'm gonna pick on that a little bit because when I
Mhm.
first came to you with Magazine Jukebox, I really just said, "Here you go,"
Yeah.
because I knew nothing about what I was doing, and nor did I want to be involved in the step to step of how this commercial was being produced. But
Mhm.
do you find that a lot of your clients want to be involved, or do you find that they're more like, "Here you go, we just trust that you're going to make something fantastic"?
Yeah, as we've gotten bigger, have done more ambitious work, it does tend to be more hands off with folks. They do tend to trust us more and say, "Oh, you're the experts. You know what you're doing. These are our goals for this project, and however you need to help us get us there." Right? And so that's cool. But we like that to be, a project where we work together, and it's definitely good collaboration in that sense. Yeah.
Well, how many? So let's talk a little bit. How many are on your team? Do you like how many? Like in a typical shoot, like something that's, let's say it's a $20,000 or less project. Quick 30-second film. How many people can you expect to typically be on a shoot like that?
Yeah, smaller crews are like 3 to 4 people.
And
You
are they
know,
all local, or are they all spread out around the United States or other countries?
our projects are all over. So, like, we have a shoot that's in the works in Europe in July, and that's going to still be a pretty small crew. I think there's going to be like 5 or 6 of us. You know,
Can we add one?
you want,
Just
yeah,
throwing that out there. If we
but
could put that in the budget.
yeah, I mean, I think you're always trying to figure out how to do things with the least amount of effort that you can put out in terms of the required people on a crew. You're trying to be respectful of the dollars that are entrusted to you, but you can't do certain things without a certain amount of people.
Right.
So that's why some Hollywood films have like literally thousands of people who touch a production. So it's more about like, well, what are our goals for this project, and then what do we need to do to achieve them, and that might require a huge crew, a ton of post production. It's like if somebody came to you and said, how much does a house cost, right? So if somebody comes up and says, well, how much does a film cost, or how much does an ad cost? It's like, well, what kind of house do you want?
Right.
where's your house going to be at, right? What are your goals for your house?
Right.
Do you want it to, what aesthetically, what is it going to look like? What's the style? Like, what kind of materials are we going to use? So there's just not like a simple little single solution for everything,
Uh, And someone who's currently remodeling their own house, a thing or two about homes as well. So, or at least you're
Mhm.
learning. Like you learn through, like when I remember like remodeling a house, and I was like, I'm gonna learn through failure. I'm gonna
Mhm.
I'm gonna do this wrong, but
Mhm.
I know that if I do it wrong, I'll learn for the next time. And but that a lot of that translates into business too. And I would suspect that as you have been growing your company, you probably have gone through some failure moments, and that has helped to get you to where you are today. And one of the things that I think of is the sheer you know monumental task of having to pack up all your equipment. Like when
Mhm.
you go on a vacation, right? Like I know I'm kind of all over the place, but go with me down this path for a second. So when you go on a vacation, you ever leave and you're like, crap, what did I forget? Like, that's gotta be maybe one of the worst feelings. Like, did I just leave the oven on?
Mhm.
Did I keep my cat in the microwave?
Mhm.
Whatever it was, that's kind of an odd one. But whatever it is, right?
Uh-huh.
Like, what is it that, like, when you pack all up all this equipment, like, do you have these like massive checklists and you have to make sure everything's getting there? And then do you have to get there at a certain time in advance, to make sure you get all your equipment? Because, everybody hears horror stories about stuff getting lost in the airport. So I would
Yeah.
assume that you guys have to go through the same thing. Or do you just hire like a transport company to move all that stuff?
No, our productions are not that large that we hire a transport company, but it's like any other thing. If you standardize it and you have a system for it, then it's not that difficult, right? So you have your audio kit, and your audio kit has all these different things that go in it, and you just know that those are the things that are in there for whatever setup you're trying to do. So when you go to pack, you're good to go.
It makes me think of like there's a lot of, like you were saying, large production companies, and then when I
Mhm.
think of you guys, I think of like a boutique
Mhm.
production company. And to
Right.
me, people seek out boutique, places to stay, for, they, instead of going to like the 5-star hotel, they want to go to the 5-star bed and breakfast. And that's
Mhm.
kind of like that boutique offering that you guys offer, I think is really incredible. And it gives you
Mhm.
that one-on-one relationship. And I know, at least in my time with you guys, and here gearing up soon again, is I really enjoyed that and appreciated that relationship I had.
Mhm.
And it was like, after the production, I was like, "Hey, you guys want to hang out?" And you guys were like, "Yeah,
Mhm.
no, not really." And so at least I appreciate. I'm just kidding. Jared and I, we became friends. Poor guy. I mean, I just said he came to my birthday
Yep.
party. I mean,
Yep.
that was a big one. Okay, so let's talk about content. Okay,
Mhm.
so I think content is like a big thing right now. There's a lot of stuff floating out there with AI, Chat GPT, and all that fun stuff. And then there's content that really just is important, but also getting the right content out there, and in a world that is just flooded with content.
Yep.
So, how do you, uh, separate yourself from that? And can you share
Mhm.
with us a little bit about what's going on in the content world?
Yeah. I think if you're going to make content or have content made for you, the first thing you got to ask is, why in the world am I doing this? Right? We only have so much time for us, or even the people that we hire to do stuff for us. What are our goals from this project or this production, or even just this simple little photo I'm taking on my phone? Why am I doing this? Like, what sort of outcomes am I after? Is it to inform someone, inspire someone, entertain, build some sort of relationship, or sell this thing? Or is it just for fun? Like, you have to ask yourself, why are you doing this to begin with? Because to make content that really catches on and is inspiring to people, the first thing I think it needs to be is true,
Mm.
right? We have been flooded with ads now for so long, and not just ads, like indirect ads and stuff that looks like maybe it's not an ad. And we're just becoming more sensitive and aware, I think, of people trying to sell to us. So when you're creating content, like, it needs to be true. And if it's an ad, that's totally fine, but it needs to accurately represent what the product is, right? Don't try to like fluff it up or really cheat your way around projecting what it is you're trying to say, so people can pick it up, right?
Right.
It needs to be true. So it's got to be true to your goals, but it's got to be true to what the product is or whatever the video is that you're making, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I mean, makes a lot of sense, especially, coming from being an entrepreneur for, 20 years. There was this old saying where you got to, fake it till you make it. That was this,
Mhm.
this horrible saying. I was like, and the problem was that people really took the fake it part and
Yeah.
and they never made it. Like that
Right.
was the problem. And
Yeah.
but I think with true, like you're saying, with true content, honest content, it's that added, statement of like if you tell something that's not true, you got to tell 10 more times something else that's not true in order to get out of that first one.
Yeah.
But when you tell something that's true and you're being honest to yourself, then the beautiful part of it is that there's nothing to get out of. You're just being who you are, or you're being true to your company and what your company is about.
Mhm.
And I think that that's so important with this AI stuff. It's just like out of control. Like I saw this photo that someone made, and it was drones made back in the 80s, and it was this picture on AI, and it showed like these what drones would have looked like in the 80s. And some people had like bell bottom pants, or they getting out of that hippie stage or whatever. Or you had the picture was made in one of those like classic 1980s pictures, I think of when I was a kid. And you look at it and you're like, wow, they really did have drones back then. Like, why did it take 40 years for it to get to where it's at today? And then it's like, then it hits you and it's like, that's not real.
Yeah.
That's totally fake, but it's really messing with
Mhm.
a lot of people. Apple just released their new, uh,
Apple Vision
yeah,
Pro
Apple
headset.
Vision. Did you
Yeah.
see what the price is on that?
Yeah. 3,500.
$3,500.
Yeah, but there's a ton of technology baked into that. And I mean, I think it's going to be pretty tough to make it cheaper than that, especially when it's a new product and who's it being advertised to, the early adopters, not mass market. I actually think the price point is makes a lot of sense in that regard. Am I interested in spending that money? No, not
Yeah,
at all. But I get where they're headed with this thing. Think if we want to go down this little rabbit hole.
yeah,
Think about this AR headset. Honestly, it's terrifying, and I don't know what I think about it morally or whatever where we're headed
right.
as a
Sure.
society. Do we want to go in this direction? I don't know, but I view it as kind of this new space they're entering, much like the App Store when it first came out on the iPhone. We couldn't have predicted all the apps that would be made and how they would become useful and where the phone, quote unquote, mobile device would take us. This headset, it's like a whole new frontier, really. And what apps are going to come out that Apple hasn't even thought of? Honestly,
Right.
I don't think they've baked a lot into it. Like if you view the apps that they have that are included to begin with, it's like photos, watch a video, do a chat, pretty standard things. Who knows what kind of apps are going to be developed in the next 5 years that could appropriate this product to do stuff that we're not even thinking of. Um, it's kind of crazy,
I
you know.
yeah, I think it's crazy, and I think that my concern is for this younger generation that's coming up. Like, we're so far removed now, right? Like
Yep.
from the actual physical, fellowship of one another. That
Mhm.
you go to a concert, you go to something, and they're more interested. I saw this amazing picture where I had this old lady, right, and she was like something to do with Princess Diana or King and Queen, something like that. And here she is, she just has her hands like kind of bunched up in a little ball in front of her, and she's just
Mhm.
looking in awe of what's going on in front of her. And then all around her was everybody with their phones out in front of them.
Yeah.
And the caption said that people are more interested in telling others where they are than actually enjoying where they are in the moment.
Mhm.
And I think this AR stuff, and even going, and this ties into the content part, like where when there's not factual content out there, it's taking this direction. And I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too far, but I think that It is something that we all need to be mindful of, and that again falls back into why I love Astoria so much. Is that is Astoria really does share the story of the company or the person, and you guys have this innate ability to just like tap into who your client is and what they're trying to get across, like what they're trying to portray. And um and I think that it's going to be very interesting with these goggles or vision or whatever. And I also feel bad for all these other people that have been working on their own, like, VR stuff, and Apple's just going to come in and squash them. I mean, it's just like, but when you make trillions of dollars, you can hire the best, the
Well,
best people.
yeah, and Facebook has dumped how much money into their headset,
Yeah,
and it's out there, right?
yeah,
Do you know anybody with the Facebook headset?
nobody.
I mean, I think that this is a real problem for them, and they're not a hardware company,
Yeah,
and they're trying to make a product. Apple's both hardware and software. They do both very well, and this thing is a hardware device that runs on a software. I mean, it makes a lot of sense for Apple to make this kind of a thing. Uh, anyway,
yeah.
we're going down a
I
whole
know,
nother.
I know, and I think that I'm predicting the end of Facebook. It's happening. It's going to happen.
Mm,
Someone's going to roll out with something new. It's going to be podcast everywhere.
man,
Nobody's going to care about Facebook
I'm gonna miss.
I miss MySpace.
Uh,
I don't even want to talk. Like, I miss MySpace. I miss having my own controllable landing page where I could put up cool designs to say who I am. Are they even around
I
anymore?
mean, that's scotttjanae.com, man.
Well, I don't own that. The guy who owns that is up in like Philadelphia or something like that.
Oh,
It's
dang.
Yeah, I know. He owns it's ironic. He owns like a financial firm. Okay, all right. So let's get back to this. All right, we're going down this whole. We're pretty good at that. So Jared, what's next for a story? What's in the future?
Well, can I go back to my how to create standout
Yes,
content?
absolutely. I'm sorry, I totally went around that. Yes, go.
All right. So, how to create standout content in 2023. First thing we talked about was that your content must be true,
Right.
right? And it doesn't have to be polished necessarily, right? If you're an entrepreneur, startup company, you're probably in process or along the way, and you don't have to wait until everything's all nice and crisp to release content about what you're doing or whatever. It could be behind the scenes, it could be lo-fi, but as long as it's true to where you're at, like some entrepreneurs post to LinkedIn or Instagram talking about the struggles they're going through, and that allows them to connect with other people who've gone through those. So as long as the content is true, I think you're on track for it to be to stand out and resonate with people. So the second thing is that it must be clear,
Mm,
right? I would say for every piece of content you put out, you should be able to distill it in one sentence what this thing is about, right?
mm,
Before you make
that's
it.
good. Yeah.
Like, what is this thing, right? What's the goal, right? Is it true? And then in one sentence, what are you communicating, right? We try to do that with all of our web projects. When somebody's coming to your homepage, in one sentence, what is it that your company does, and what do you want people to do when they come to that website? So it's like a single sentence about every piece of content. What are you communicating, right?
Yeah.
You got your goal, right? It's got to be true, and then a single sentence about what it is that you're communicating. It's got to be clear. So you can have a really cool high end product, shoot, whatever, and it could be confusing. And then
Yeah.
you're not going to reach your goals. People are going to know what to do when they watch it. Right.
Yeah, I like you. I just got. I'm going to touch on that just for a quick second here, and because what's funny is that I love the one sentence line, right? Because it actually has me thinking about. This is going to sound really funny, so just go with me. But it has me thinking about the drink that I love to order at Starbucks. I hate the name. They've got to figure out a nickname for this thing, but it's called iced toasted vanilla oat milk shaken espresso. And every time I have to go, or every time I go to Starbucks, I have to say that for them to know what I'm trying to order. And it goes to your point, right? Like if they just had a nickname, they call that the vanilla oat. It'd be so much easier, so much better. But every time I have to pull out my app to figure out what that is.
Yeah.
And that's what you're saying is like you want it to be in one line. So when people arrive to wherever it is, let's say their website in this case, it's got to be on point. It's got to be quick and precise because people's attention span or people's willingness to give attention is getting shorter and shorter by the
Mhm.
literally by the year.
Yeah. And this a single summary sentence of your content is also a guiding tool for you as you think about, how am I going to structure this? What kind of scenes should be included or should not be? So it helps guide the script, storyboard, all of those things.
Yeah, that's really good. That's
Yeah.
I Yeah, I mean, it's so true. I can, from experience of the companies that I've owned in the past, like, I didn't know that we needed to do that until I meet people like you that would give that kind of advice. And I call these like golden nuggets. Like those who are listening to this, those who are going to be watching this, like it's super important to make sure you tap into what Jared just said, especially as you're trying to grow and thrive your business.
Yeah. So my third piece here is that the content should feel inspired,
Mm,
right? So something can be true and clear, but not inspired,
right,
right? You can watch it and understand it, but it might not inspire you to action or inspire you to go, "Whoa, that's an interesting person," or "Man, they're hilarious. I want to follow them. Like I want more of this content," right?
right.
So then how do you make something that's inspired? Well, I think as an entrepreneur, so much of it is about your passion, right? Why are you doing what you're doing? Right. And let that speak through what the content is. If you're in front of the camera or not, it's an opportunity for that passion to come out. And that's part of being real, right? That transparency. People can see it and it resonates with people.
Yeah, it's as I'm sitting here and I'm looking at our backdrop. One of our backdrops is the MacArthur Museum here, and it's like when you're talking about that, like the MacArthur General MacArthur Museum. But the question is like, why is it not always packed? And the question is it inspiring, or do people understand the story behind it? Like, like, and when people do know the story, yes, that's where they want to go. That's a destination where they want to be. But if they don't know anything about it, like when I have guests or people who come into town don't know anything about it, that is not on their list of things to go see. But how do to attract them? You've really, like you said, it's got to be true. It's got to be
Mhm.
clear, and it's got to be inspiring. And I,
Mhm.
I think that those are all three very, very good points.
Yeah. Yeah. So the awareness issue is like a whole nother thing, because you can have something that's true to the product, clear and inspiring, and it can just go on YouTube, it could go on TikTok, wherever, or your website, and then just not get any eyeballs, right?
Yeah.
And there's so much good content that we're not even aware of.
Right.
There's a ton of it out there.
Hmm.
And so, honestly, some of it is luck of the right people seeing it and sharing it and it resonating with people.
Sure.
Um, but there's also pay to play.
Yeah.
That's part of why people spend good money to market their products. Is you got to sometimes put some dollars behind a thing to get it out there, right?
Yeah. I hate paying to play, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get it.
yeah.
I have to,
Sucks.
but
Yeah.
it's like whenever my marketing team comes to me, it's like, oh, hey, we want to do a pay per click campaign, and I'm just like, no, we don't. Like, I
Hmm.
always feel like those numbers are so arbitrary. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
how do you know? And well, and to point to that, right, is like if you type in, let's say you type in REI store, the
Hmm.
first thing that's going to pop up on Google is a sponsored link for
Hmm.
REI. You clearly know where you want to go, but they're still going to put that sponsored link, and the average consumer is going to click on that first one,
Yeah.
which just charge that company for someone who's looking for them already. Like
Yeah.
you didn't need that sponsored link for that particular client to find you.
Right.
And then if you drop down to, and then all of a sudden you see REI's direct link, and if you
Hmm.
click on that, it doesn't charge the store. So
Yeah.
like that, yeah, that pay per click is, or paying for, but you got to do it though, and you're right, like the marketing spend's got to be there, but that awareness is super important.
Yeah. And if you create content with kind of the pillars that I've laid out, then if the eyeballs do come to it, it's ready to go,
Yeah,
right? It's ready to take off. So you kind of get your ducks in a row,
yeah,
right? And then they're ready to just spread their wings and fly
yep,
when
yeah,
the opportunity comes.
yeah. That foundation is super important. That's what you're putting out there, is that foundation, or ducks ready to fly. It's an interesting analogy.
I, you know, I don't know. It just came to
I
me.
mean, the duck. The best part about a duck is that they don't live in a tree, so they don't like have to worry about mama like kicking them out, right? Like they just have to be able to cross streets.
To me, it seems like they're trying to keep up with mama.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay.
They are, and they're also trying to not fall in. Those what are those crate like
The culvers on the side of the road.
There you go. Yeah, I always see a video with them, like someone's trying to surf them out. All right, Jared. Look, man, we could go on forever, but no one's going to listen to us forever.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I did a podcast recently and they put it on a loop. And if you go on YouTube, it says like it's a 5-hour long podcast. I was like, no one's listening to that. Yeah, but it's not. It's just they have this on the loop. Mm-hmm. But anyways, look, it is time for us to conclude this. But the good news is I have one more thing to do with you. It's called Pick Your Poison. Jared, you've been a great guest. You've given some great information. We're going to make sure we get that out to our sphere. And, I think anybody listening to this or watching this, make sure you tap into Astoria, reach out to Jared. If you're looking at getting a commercial made or you need some web content made, this is the guy to come talk to. So thank you very much for being on the show. But now it is time for Pick Your Poison. All right, pick your poison. This means basically, would you rather? Okay, so you got to pick would you rather. The only time that I discard a card is if it's inappropriate. Sometimes I find those, and we try to always maintain a PG-13 type show. Some of them have been a little scary, so don't worry about that. Okay, would you rather get attacked by a shark or wake up tomorrow not remembering who anyone else is? Man, those are both brutal.
No, see, I'm taking the shark attack,
right?
Because the card does not stipulate how I come out of this attack, and I'm believing that I survive and I'm great. I saw a video online the other day of a guy chilling in a kayak, and a shark comes up and tries to take a bite out of it.
I saw that.
He got it on tape. He lived to tell the tale.
Right.
And now, he's like, hey, yeah, a shark tried to bite me.
Or you could have really good friends like me, and I will do a elbow drop on that shark if they attack Jared.
The people's elbow on the shark would be helpful.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So I'm taking that because, yeah.
Oh man. All right. So you're taking the shark attack. Okay. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like not remembering anybody could be fun. Like it's a new event every day. You wake up and be like, hey, who are you?
Well, I guess you wouldn't remember if it was bad or good.
Right. I mean, it doesn't say you don't remember what has transpired. You just can't remember who they are. So maybe really everybody's sad, nameless.
Actually. That sounds pretty sad.
Like I could be like, hey, Bob. No, it's Jared. I know. All right. Okay, next one. Last one. Be unable to communicate with someone without having intense eye contact. I think you're gonna pick this one. Only be able to whisper. You're a whisperer. I don't know how you're gonna pull away from that, but
say the first one again.
Be
unable to communicate with someone without having it. So you're just staring into everyone's soul that you talk to,
right?
Or
you have to whisper all the time.
Intense eye contact. Why not? Like, well, man, this guy's intense.
I think we need to try this. We need to do a clip one day of you and I just bringing someone in, and we just have intense eye contact with them the whole entire time. Try not to blink either. My eyes are already burning trying to do that. Okay. All right. So you went with intense eye contact. I would go with intense eye contact because I like to make things awkward anyway. So it's something that I like to do. So, all right. Well, look, that concludes our show here at Biztainment Weekly. Again, I'm your host and our guest, Jared Beasley over at Astoria. Thank you so much, sir, for being on the show. It's always a pleasure being able to spend even 5 minutes with you, let alone 45 minutes. So
that's sweet.
So thank you for that. Yeah, well, I'm a sweet guy most days. Not really. Actually, I'd say that's less frequent than me being a jerk. Just kidding. I'm not. Nobody take that. This is not recorded, is it? Dang it. All right. Okay, so, hey, look, check out our show on Tuesdays is when we release these shows. And make sure you follow us on all social. And, Jared, we will be posting all of your social on our platform as well and get it out for you. So thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. We wish you a great week, whenever you're listening to this. Take care. Goodbye.